top headlines to tell you, including about the U.S. economy, about the trade war that continues apace with the U.S. and with China here. Our colleague, Fox's Mike Emanuel, has this report about what the White House is saying and what China is saying. Let's listen.
Stocks soared Wednesday on news that President Trump may ease his hardline position on tariffs. Tuesday, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told investors he expected a de-escalation of the U.S.-China trade war in the near future, saying both countries ramping up tariffs higher and higher was unsustainable. Wednesday, he emphasized the need for a reset on the global trade market.
America first does not mean America alone. To the contrary, it is a call for deeper collaboration and mutual respect among trade partners.
The Wall Street Journal reports the administration is considering cutting its tariffs on China substantially, in some cases by more than half. The White House has not reported any direct talks with Beijing. The president today seemed to strike a softer tone while insisting the negotiation is ongoing.
Are you talking to them actively now?
Actively. Everything's active. Everybody wants to be a part of what we're doing. They know that they can't get away with it any longer, but they're still going to do fine.
Secretary Bessent has reportedly been pushing Trump in private to take his foot off the gas when it comes to tariffs, as markets tumbled and business owners worry about uncertainty and price increases. A new CNBC poll this week also shows voters for the first time ever disapprove of Trump's handling of the economy. The White House says it is in talks with more than 100 countries on new trade agreements, but the first deal could still be a few weeks away. In Washington, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
Mike, thanks so much. Well, let's talk about all of that with our friend there at the American Institute for Economic Research, Lydia Mashburn-Newman. She joins me. Lydia, good to see you. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss here, and I want to just kind of put this out there. In the last almost 100 days, the tariff rate on China levied by the United States has changed 5 times in almost 100 days with this Trump administration here. You want to talk about uncertainty, and what has China, if any, conceded in this trade war? Lydia.
Yeah, so there has been quite a bit of change on all of the trade fronts, but China, of course, is in the spotlight with the 145% tariff total. And China, for the most part, has sort of held its cards. They haven't really signaled that they want to come to the negotiating table. And I think that has caused some frustration at the White House, although they're trying to, now the White House is coming out being a little bit more conciliating to say we might reduce those numbers to try to get China to start coming to the table, although China has been saying they want to see the U.S. reach out to them, and then the U.S. is saying, well, we want Beijing to reach out to us. So it's kind of an interesting dance, if you will.
Right. It seems like both sides are kind of rejecting the unilateralist approach here, but I want to just read from the piece in the Wall Street Journal, this exclusive. They say this: the Trump administration is considering slashing its steep tariffs on Chinese imports, in some cases by more than half, in a bid to de-escalate tensions with Beijing. They say this: one senior White House official said that China tariffs were likely to come down to between roughly 50 and 65%. The administration is also considering a tiered approach similar to the one proposed by the House Committee on China late last year. 35% levies for items the U.S. deems not a threat to national security, and at least 100% for items deemed as strategic to America's interest as well. The bill proposed also phasing in those levies over 5 years. And I have to ask, the strategy, the approach here, is this a escalate, de-escalate approach? Because if the White House is considering something that was offered on Capitol Hill last year in this committee on China, was this off or not? Couldn't they have started with that? Lydia.
They definitely could have, and you had the Biden administration actually enacting various tariffs as well that we don't seem to talk about much. He had put in 100% tariff on some electric car batteries, and as well as some other electric cars in general, and some other strategic goods. And so there are definitely some plans on the table prior to the Trump administration. Many of these were sort of your business as usual kind of gradual types of approaches, and focusing mostly on tariffs related to national security concerns. I think what Trump has tried to show is that he doesn't want to engage in business as usual. He likes to come out very strong, maybe that would be his word, to try to give himself some negotiating power. And that has worked in some instances, but China seems to be holding pat on that.
Oh.
So it is fascinating to kind of watch this sort of rollback from the Trump administration. I would, however, like to see a bit more from China. China has a number of things unrelated to tariffs, more of those non-tariff trade barriers, things related to capital controls, requirements on their businesses that require that they're still 51% Chinese owned, things that we really don't have in the United States that really speak to that unlevel playing field that the Trump administration is concerned about.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to hear more on both sides about some of those issues at the table.
But Lydia, I mean, someone's going to have to blink first. We haven't seen that yet. I mean, we've seen this reporting here that the talk of blinking is being discussed within the White House, at least. We have a new Fox News poll today, and it shows President Trump's job performance on the economy specifically. And this is one of a piece of a number of these polls that have come out recently. 38% of registered voters approve of his handling of the economy. 58% disapprove here. And I only ask this because we have discussed how the markets are doing. We brought our viewers the news just yesterday as he kind of Trump backed off on some of these threats to, fire Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Not that really he can legally do anything in his purview to remove the Fed chair here. The futures market and even the market today responded well to the backing off of that threat here. So are we seeing the White House make some of these slight modifications and then the market does better? Is that how you see it and read it?
The market is definitely responding to things that are coming out of the White House that kind of make them feel like it's getting somewhat back to business as usual. How long that lasts is very debatable. The stock market responds very quickly to information. Some information is accurate, some information is inaccurate, but they were quite roiled by the comments about Jay Powell and removing him and what that looked like. Jay Powell is viewed as somebody that has somewhat of a steady hand at the tiller. Or at the till, and maybe both, and it definitely caused some concerns in the stock market, and the fact that even just rumors or Trump pulling back on that language on Powell, and then rumors on China trying to get things a little bit more even keeled, we've definitely seen sort of immediate corrections. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how the market continues to take in this information. More interesting, though, is what's happening more in the rest of the economy. The Fed just came out with their beige book, which provides some insight into businesses across the nation in the 12 different Fed districts. And you're seeing that businesses are concerned about the uncertainty as well as their supply chains, and they have signaled some concerns about potential price increases and potential layoffs. So all things to be keeping in mind outside of the stock market.
Okay, but I mean, Lydia, everyone knows President Trump likes good poll numbers, especially when it comes to the economy. The number one issue he thinks he is best at, and the American voters have thought that he is best at as well for almost a year and a half. In the Biden administration, when Harris became the nominee after Biden withdrew, and all throughout the course of the campaign, and even the early months of this administration, the economy, he was never underwater, and he always had high marks. And then several of these polls, including Pew Research today, including Quinnipiac today, and now including Fox News, has him at 40% or below approval on the economy. Do you think that may shake him at all to reverse course? I know he's reversed course already because the 90-day pause is in place right now. But even more, do you think those polls can move him at all on his tariff ideas?
I think he cares deeply about what the American people think of him. He's always been interested in ratings when he was on The Apprentice. And so I do think that those can factor in. And it also seems like he's being influenced by some of the business interests coming to the White House. And there are some concerns that some of his conciliating is more targeted around sort of special interests coming in, whether it's the auto workers and the big auto companies. But I don't know. He seems pretty adamant and seems to believe that the polling and the drive that got him to the White House was very much related to him moving the economy in the direction of manufacturing. And so I think he might stick to his guns a little bit. He definitely thinks tariffs are a tool to be wielded, but I do hope that he takes in some of the economic data as well as the polling data to say what is best for the economy.
All right, Lydia Mashburn Newman, as always, we thank you for helping us make sense of all of this. We'll talk soon.